Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a really fascinating look at the architecture of human relationships. More specifically, we're going to look at how to engineer a high-performing, genuinely harmonious professional team. We're going to unpack this brilliant framework that basically takes 9 core human values and treats them as literal structural components. So, whether you're leading a team of software developers, managing a massive hardware project, or honestly just trying to survive your daily stand-ups, mastering these values is absolutely crucial for building something that actually lasts.
Okay, let's just dive right in. We'll be moving through 6 structural phases today. First, redefining professional prosperity. Then, the foundation, which is trust and respect. Next up is fostering fulfilling team dynamics, followed by elevating through recognition, overcoming modern workplace challenges, and finally, how values build humanity. All right, Section 1, redefining professional prosperity. Before we build anything, we really need to figure out what is true happiness. So the data draws a really sharp contrast here between temporary happiness and sustained prosperity. Temporary happiness is that fleeting rush, right? It's getting a salary bump, buying the newest tech, maybe winning some industry award. It's great, don't get me wrong, but it fades. Sustained prosperity, however, that means deep mental satisfaction, ethical living, and most importantly, strong relationships. Think about it for a second. A highly paid senior engineer who has completely broken relationships and a miserable team dynamic, they aren't actually prosperous. True prosperity means crushing our professional goals while maintaining absolute harmony. So, if sustained prosperity depends entirely on maintaining strong connections, it brings us to a pretty pivotal question. How do we actually build stronger relationships? Like, what is the practical toolkit an engineering team needs to actually build this environment? Now, what's so fascinating about this framework is how these abstract emotional concepts are organized into a highly practical engineering blueprint. We literally have 9 universal feelings serving as distinct structural components. First, there's our foundation, made of trust and respect, which stabilizes the team. Then we have our support structures, affection, care, and guidance, acting as the binding agents. Next up are the elevators, reverence, glory, and gratitude, which recognize achievements. And finally, the ultimate component, love, which completely harmonizes the entire build. Moving on to Section 2, foundation, trust, and respect. Every structure needs a solid bedrock, right? The absolute baseline here is trust. It's the core belief that another person is honest, reliable, and dependable. Literally, without trust, the entire team structure collapses like a house of cards. In a professional engineering environment, trust means actually relying on your teammates to write clean code, or to communicate honestly when a project gets delayed, or just handling their part of a critical sprint sincerely. Trust removes that paralyzing fear of failure because you know your team has your back. And as the source notes, once this foundation cracks, rebuilding it is incredibly difficult. And resting right alongside trust in our bedrock is respect. Respect is all about recognizing the dignity and worth of every single individual on the team. It is absolutely not based on age, title, or wealth. It doesn't matter if someone is a junior intern or the chief technology officer, everyone deserves respect. In practice, this looks like active listening during a code review, being open to different technical opinions, and just using polite language, even during those really high-stress late-night deployments. All right, Section 3, fostering fulfilling team dynamics. These are our binding agents. Now, in a high-stakes engineering context, affection provides essential emotional security. It's that simple appreciation for a clever workaround that makes your colleagues actually feel valued. Care takes that feeling and turns it into action. It's jumping in to help a colleague who's just buried under an impossible deployment deadline. Together with guidance, these 3 elements form the absolute glue of your team dynamics. And this brilliantly illustrates how guidance flows structurally in a technical environment. Senior engineers guide using their experience, and junior engineers learn from that direction. And the results? Confidence just scales naturally across the team, and incredibly costly bugs are prevented. But here is the crucial part. A true guide doesn't micromanage a codebase. Instead, they illuminate the correct path and empower others to make wise choices on their own. Moving to Section 4, elevating through recognition. This is all about lifting the team morale. The first 2 elevators here are reverence and glory. Reverence develops humility. It's that deep, profound respect for the mentors and senior leaders who helped us grow our technical skills in the first place. Glory, on the other hand, is about sincerely celebrating a colleague's success without even a drop of jealousy. When a peer finally solves a massive bug or gets that well-deserved promotion, celebrating their glory literally motivates the entire team to perform better. And capping off this elevation section is gratitude. Now, expressing thanks seems so small, right? Like a simple thank you or throwing a thumbs up emoji in a Slack channel. But structurally, it is a total powerhouse. The source outlines that gratitude significantly increases overall happiness. It reduces selfish motives, and it keeps egos in check, which, let's be honest, is occasionally needed in the tech world. It is the ultimate harmony booster for high-functioning teams.
Which brings us to Section 5, Overcoming Modern Workplace Challenges, because even the best blueprints face modern threats.
The modern work environment really batters our structural integrity every single day. I mean, we face constant digital distractions, selfish attitudes, and sometimes a severe lack of real communication. Throw in high stress, ridiculously tight deployment deadlines, intense competition, endless misunderstandings, and just a chronic lack of patience, and you can see how these external pressures constantly test those bonds of trust and care we just talked about building.
But it really comes down to this core takeaway. Technology connects devices, but human values connect hearts. You can have the most expensive project management software and the absolute fastest servers in the world, but to survive the stress of the modern engineering workplace, you have to rely on human values. We have to communicate openly, we have to listen patiently during blockers, and we have to be willing to forgive those inevitable mistakes. Finally, Section 6, Values Build Humanity. This is all about the highest value of all. The source actually identifies love as the highest human value. Now, I know it might sound a bit unusual to talk about love in a highly corporate or technical environment, but think of it as the final structural dome over our entire framework. It's the unconditional caring, understanding, and genuinely wishing well for everyone you work with. It expects absolutely nothing in return. It seamlessly combines everything we've discussed: trust, care, guidance, gratitude, creating absolute harmony on your team, and by extension, out in society. And that leads us to this incredibly powerful takeaway from our source material, aimed directly at all future engineers and professionals. Technical knowledge may build machines, but human values build humanity. Yes, your hard skills will get the software shipped and the hardware built for sure, but it is your application of these 9 human values that actually creates an environment worth working in day after day. Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to reflect on today. You now have the blueprint in your hands. You know the 9 structural components required for sustained professional prosperity. So, will you use these 9 values to engineer a stronger, happier team today? The materials are literally right in front of you. The building starts now.